From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. I need to start with a little program note. The Christmas holiday, solstice, and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, it's all coming up here in the last couple of weeks of December. So the program note is I've already pre-recorded a couple of shows that are going to air in those couple of weeks. Others in the normal slot for radio listeners will be some repeats, an annual Christmas show with Christmas music. So for those of you listening on radio, you'll still have shows at the regular times, but a couple of them will be repeats. And for everybody, including those of you who are subscribers or you listen in the feed, a couple of the shows over that 2-week period might sound a little, just a little out of touch because they've already been recorded. So they won't necessarily be hitting any breaking news, which there's always breaking news. Nothing about the Epstein files, which are scheduled to be released on Friday, which was the deadline imposed by the bill passed in Congress. And then also whatever he says tonight, because I'm recording this on Wednesday, late afternoon, before the Orange Menace speaks to the nation. Yeah, there's a scheduled national address, which I don't know. Here's kind of tricky business to give predictions when you already know the answer. But I'll be brave. Here it is. Just a lot of nonsense. Just nothing but lies, and it'll just be ridiculous, like everything's ridiculous. People are speculating that it's about Venezuela and the blockade and the potential war. And again, you already know the truth about this, and I don't. So this is all just, like I say, just a little program note to fill you in. I'm looking forward to taking a couple of weeks off. I mainly did this for the benefit of my friends on the radio side who have to schedule in the shows, and I really wanted to make an effort to get all the shows digitally over to them so they could do their work ahead of time and not have to be working over the holidays. And then as a nice little added benefit, it makes a lot less work for me over the holidays. So I'm looking forward to that. So there's my program note. I'm going to try to not let the news bother my days. I have to confess, every year when I watch It's a Wonderful Life, because like a million other people, it's an annual tradition, I can't help but think of the Orange Menace when the character of the father, George's father, who runs the building and loan, and you'll recognize this quote from the movie. I wrote it down here. George is having dinner with his father. He says, "What's the matter, Pa?" And he's, "Oh, Mr. Potter," giving him trouble. "What's the matter with that old buzzard anyway?" And here's the quote. "Oh, he's a sick man, frustrated, sick in his mind, sick in his soul if he has one. He hates everybody that has anything that he can't have. Hates us mostly, I guess." Yeah, every year when I hear that line, I think of the orange meat puppet. A sick man, frustrated, sick in his mind, sick in his soul, if he has one. Hey, well, let's talk about some things here. The Susie Wiles interview. Susie Wiles is probably the most incognito chief of staff in my lifetime. Nobody ever talks about Susie Wiles. She's the White House chief of staff. It's a damn big job, and most people in that job become a household name. Nobody knows who Susie Wiles is. Well, Vanity Fair did a big, like an 11-part interview with her, and they published it this week, and so it's getting lots of news. I don't need to get into it. It's inside stuff that, frankly, I don't know. You know, I'm a big believer that voters, that citizens should be well informed. Of course. I don't know how much you're served by knowing every detail of this story. But it's interesting nonetheless. She does talk about the president. She talks about high-profile members of the cabinet. and had lots of really very unflattering things to say. And now that the story is out, she's crying foul and saying, oh, they took her quotes out of context and calling fake news. And, well, of course they are. So the Susie Wiles interview, you're going to be hearing a lot. I'm sure you have already. What really impressed me were the photos. Oh, my God, the photo editing really needs to get a Pulitzer Prize. It's brutal. If you haven't seen it, seek it out. I'm looking at him right now, this solo shot of of Marco Rubio, where he just looks like his soul is leaving his body. And they're not manipulated in any way. They're just photographs, but they're mostly just really extreme close-ups of their faces, and they tell everything. The one of Caroline Leavitt is especially brutal because it's an extreme close-up, and it's kind of gross because you can see the injection marks, the little holes in her lips where she gets her collagen injections. Yeah, she's, Caroline Leavitt, she's got the MAGA face thing going. She's a freak. Her lips are weird. She's got the Michael Jackson nose. I think she denies having work done. The Dan Scavino comb over. The greasy, oily comb over. Oh my God, these people are freaks. So, hats off to the photographers and the photo editors at Vanity Fair. Oh man, they just did a job on the cabinet. And of course, they deserved every little bit of it. Okay, more boat murders. The regime announced another 3 boats blown out of the water, another 8 people murdered in cold blood. Yeah, at some point in time, the Orange Menace, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, they need to be perp walked as mass murderers. Do I exaggerate? No, I do not. Grand total now is, I think, 25. It's either 25 or 26 boats. 95 souls murdered. Indefensible. Speaking of Susie Wiles, she says very clearly in the interview, oh yeah, it's got nothing to do with drugs. These boat murders, nothing, no. It's all about intimidating Maduro and getting him to step down. It's all about regime change. And again, I'm recording this before tonight's address to the nation, so you know more about this than I do, but probably, yeah, more action, blockade, maybe even an invasion. I don't know what's going on in Venezuela right now. But whatever it is, it's illegal. I can't wait to see these people in handcuffs. An on-duty Customs and Border Protection officer fired his gun several times during a confrontation with another motorist. That's the headline anyway, from AP News. I'm not sure why you call it a confrontation. There was a basic traffic accident, and the CBP Gestapo guy came out shooting. The officer told authorities that he pulled his weapon after the other driver attacked him over a minor traffic crash. Do you believe that? I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. All I know is that I don't believe a single word out of the mouth of anybody connected to this regime anymore. They've lost all trust. That in itself is a problem. I could be wrong. Maybe every word of this is true. But I also know that I don't trust them. And that's their fault. That's not my fault. They've lost all trust. Because all they do is break the law and abuse people and lie. So when you lose trust, whose fault is it? Now, there are, let me see, because I'm seeing one report, one headline that says he was off duty, and another said he was on duty. Which is it? AP says off duty. Okay. Everything's wrong right now. The media can't even do its job. Off duty. We got a jobs report. Unemployment rate rose to 4.6% last month. Highest since 2021. The worst of the COVID effect on employment. Everything about the economy is wrong. We're just doing it wrong. There are plenty of resources for all of us. We can all eat. We can all have health care. We can all have food, housing, shelter, education. We can have leisure and arts and entertainment. There's enough for all of us and way more than we can ever use. It's only this completely perverse, immoral, impossibly ridiculous system that we live under that keeps so many people wanting, while a half a dozen billionaires, soon to be trillionaires, own and run everything. Saw this headline. The world's richest 0.001% now control 3 times as much wealth as the entire bottom half of humanity combined. 56,000 wealthy individuals. You could fit them into Lambeau Field and still have another 20,000 empty seats. 56,000 wealthy individuals across the globe have more wealth than roughly 4 billion people worldwide. There's plenty of money, there's plenty of resources, there's plenty of food, housing, education, healthcare. There's plenty for everybody. Another story that really, ever since last weekend, it's been all about 3 very high-profile killings. The shooting of students at Brown University, a couple killed, others wounded. As of now, the time I'm speaking, late Wednesday afternoon, the killer's still at large. Then, of course, the horrible mass shooting in Australia. Horrible for a lot of reasons, just obviously because several people killed. But layer on top of that, it's a hate crime because it was a targeted attack on Jewish folks celebrating the first day of Hanukkah. A couple of small points to mention on that. At the very least, thank God that didn't happen in America where the shooters would have had semi-automatic weapons. It could have been 10 times worse. It could have been hundreds and hundreds of people. There were 2 shooters, a father and a son. One of them killed, the other subdued by a bystander. You probably saw the video of that, a very heroic move by a bystander. So at least, thank heavens it wasn't just exponentially worse, as it would have been with our gun laws that allow for semi-automatic and so-called assault rifles. And then, of course, the third tragic story regarding murder, the great actor-director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, pretty accomplished artist in her own right, cinematographer, murdered by their son, who was a long-time sufferer of mental health issues and addiction. So just a horrible, sad story. Boy, his record as a director is just, there are few directors in Hollywood, in all of the history of Hollywood, that can match his resume. Especially that string between, looking at the list here, this is Spinal Tap, was his first big directing job, 1984, classic. And then something called The Sure Thing. I don't know what that is, 1985. I've never seen it, never heard of it. But then, in order, 1986, Stand By Me, 1987, The Princess Bride, 1989, When Harry Met Sally, 1990, Misery, 1992, A Few Good Men. Good Lord. Look at that string of movies. That's crazy. That's just amazing. And then, of course, he went on to do many more, but holy cow, that is a run like I don't know if anybody's matched that over a span of less than 10 years. Jesus. I want to mention one thing just because I was reminded by this terrible event. When All in the Family first came out, I guess late 60s, I forget the exact year, 69, 70? Anyway, it was very controversial because of the subject matter, and some affiliates refused to air it in prime time. They either didn't air it at all, or many stations chose to put it on later at night, outside where kids would be watching. And that's what the CBS affiliate here in Milwaukee did. And I was a kid, and I remember my dad didn't want us to watch the show. But my mom, with a wink, said, okay, just don't tell your dad, but you can watch it. And they played it after the news on Sunday night or for Saturday night or sometime, I forget. So I stayed up late and I watched it. And Rob Reiner was a big part of the success of that program. His character was integral as Archie Bunker's foil. So he really, that was the first time the nation knew the name Rob Reiner. And boy, did he hit it out of the park. And not only was he great in the show, that's trivial compared to the fact of how important the show was itself. It was a cultural milestone, even to some extent a political milestone. People today, so many people, really don't understand. You'll hear people say, or you'll see it in comment threads, oh, you could never do that today. Archie Bunker, he was funny. He made race jokes, couldn't do that today. And it's the racists of today think that Archie Bunker was some kind of counterculture hero. They get it 100% backwards. They're 180 degrees wrong. Norman Lear, the creator of All in the Family, was a liberal, was a progressive. The character Archie Bunker was a character not to be admired. He was the butt of the jokes. His racism wasn't something to be admired. Oh, let's have a big old laugh together using racist slurs. Isn't this fun? No, you don't get it. He was the vehicle through which the rest of the characters taught America about tolerance, about multiculturalism, about equality. It was the most progressive program ever in history up until that time. So those of you today who think Archie Bunker was this brilliant, funny character who was able to say politically incorrect things and he's your hero for that, you have no idea. You don't understand. Anyway, just got me thinking about all that. Oh, and then, of course, the orange meat puppet can't let any day go by without being horrible. And it's a running theme, not just around here, but across the country. I've heard many people say variations of the same thing. Like, I can't believe he went, he just reaches new lows all the time. And when we think he can't go any lower, he does. I've said it myself. I've heard countless people say the same thing. And he did it again. He reached what might be an all-time low in his disgusting diatribe against Rob Reiner less than a day after we hear the news. The man is just vile. And as I keep saying around here, I don't know how he got this way. It's a mental illness. He's a sick man, frustrated, sick in his mind, sick in his soul if he has one. He hates everybody. Yeah, a lot of people, that was the last straw. Many Republicans, even MAGA types, coming out vocally saying there's just no place for this. I won't repeat what he wrote about Rob Reiner. I don't care to repeat it. I'm going to repeat. It's way past time for the American press, for journalists, to stop being objective about this president. The head of every news division Every primary anchor, whoever, get yourself a spokesperson for each platform. Look straight into the camera and say this: he's a pig. From this point forward, we will cover him as journalists as we would cover a natural disaster. Something to be overcome. Something that does damage that we need to avoid. We need to defeat. We will no longer repeat or air his lies because he is a liar. He is a bully. He is a racist. He is a criminal. These are not opinions. These are facts. And they will serve as our foundation for our reporting going forward. This also applies to his cabinet and to any Republican lawmakers who excuse his boorishness, ignore his crimes, and repeat his lies. Every honest journalist needs to look in the camera and say these words. We need to do everything in our power to avoid, mitigate, and eventually eliminate the damage that he's capable of. For 10 plus years, American news media on all sides have been doing just the opposite. They've been enabling him. They've been airing his lies on live television, day in and day out. Reporting on him the way they have been reporting for the last 10 years does not serve some sort of journalistic code. It only helps him to destroy the nation. You can't be objective about a deadly virus. You don't cover both sides of a catastrophic hurricane. I know I always bring this back to the media, but they're the ones putting the gun in his hand. He couldn't do a fraction of the damage he's done without the megaphone of the media. What, from his half a dozen followers on Truth Social? Even the legitimate platforms. We found out recently that most of those are non-human chatbots based in Eastern Europe, China, and Russia. There is no Orange Menace, as we currently suffer him, without American corporate media breathing life into this monster day after day after day. I'm so sick of it. On the opposite end of the universe here, Bernie Sanders posted this recently. Great news, in the last month we've picked up 2 more Senate co-sponsors for Medicare for All, bringing the total to 18 in the Senate and 109 in the House. This is significant progress, but it pales in comparison to the nearly 2/3 of the American people who support Medicare for All, including a majority of Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. Here's what Medicare for All delivers in just 4 years. Year number 1, lowers the Medicare age to 55, cover every child in America, end out-of-pocket costs, expand Medicare to finally cover dental, vision, and hearing. Year number 2, lowers eligibility to 45. Year number 3, lowers eligibility to 35. Year number 4, all Americans get guaranteed comprehensive health care with no premiums, no deductibles, no copays, no out-of-pocket expenses, and full choice of doctors and hospitals. Medicare for All would save $650 billion and 68,000 lives every year by eliminating waste, bureaucracy, and red tape and getting every American the medical attention they need. In the richest nation on earth, health care must be a human right, not a privilege. And yes, we will fund Medicare for All by asking the billionaire class and giant corporations to finally pay their fair share. Yeah, Democrats, anybody running against MAGA, even if there are some old-fashioned establishment Republicans still around, I don't know if there are. But you all have to get behind Bernie and Medicare for All. This is the time of year when there are elections almost every Tuesday. I encourage you to put ballotpedia.org somewhere where you can reach it on a daily basis. It's really fun to just check in. It gives you recent results. It gives you upcoming elections. And if you want to feel good about things, let's take a look at this week's elections. Kentucky State Senate District 37, special election, Democrat Gary Clemens, the winner. Georgia State Senate District 35 runoff between two Democrats, Jaha Howard and Roger Bruce. Looks like Howard is going to win that. The National Labor Relations Board issued a tally for a labor organization election in Philadelphia, where AFSCME District Council 47, Local 397 won with 13 votes for the union versus 2 against. So, yeah, if you just want a little pick-me-up, on any given Wednesday, go to ballotpedia.org and check out the Tuesday results, because every Tuesday is election day in America these days. There's something going on. And the results are always pretty good these days. We got Democrats winning. We've had several Democratic Socialists winning recently. Of course, the high profile being Zoran Mamdani in New York. But there's also Joel Brooks, Jersey City Council. Another socialist, Jake Efros, won a council seat in Jersey City in that same election. Detroit City Council elected a socialist. Minneapolis City Council elected 2 socialists in the most recent elections. Atlanta City Council, Cambridge City Council outside Boston, Ithaca, New York Common Council, 2 winners there. Right here in my beloved Milwaukee, the last election, we elected Alex Brower to the Common Council. Carborough, I don't know where that is. Metro D.C., Greenbelt City Council, Poughkeepsie Common Council. Yeah, winners. Democratic Socialists of America, getting it done. I'm sure if I went to the Green Party website, I'd see some winners there too. Keep in the fight. Challenge incumbents. I don't care if you run as a Democrat, a Democratic Socialist, a social anarchist, a Green Party. I don't care. Run for the right reasons. Challenge whoever is trying to defend the status quo. All right. So once again, program note, everything you're going to hear going forward through January 4th will either be a pre-recorded show or a repeat from past shows. So if something feels a little off, like, oh, Charles Purcell doesn't know what's going on, that's why. It's because I wanted to give the folks down at River West Radio a chance to load in some shows ahead of time so they could have the holidays off. And it gives me a little time off as well. So, radio listeners, please do tune in at the regular times. I'll be there for you. Those of you looking for the post in your feed, there might be a couple of episodes missing, but I'll still be with you a few times through the end of the year. Okay? All right. I love you. I'll see you out there.